So now, if I look at view eligible workers. Yesterday, we got 99 workers right. Let's see how many we have today. Obviously right, because we haven't hired any worker with the management level of executive vice president in my XYZ Motors organizations, isn't it? That's why it is returning me a 0. Correct, but anyway, you now understand how we can add multiple conditions and create a compensation eligibility rule. Now let me give you a challenge. Question. The challenge question is, you have to create a compensation eligibility rule, okay, which does this. Managers in the US or supervisors in UK understand the requirement. Managers in USA or supervisors in UK, okay. Let's try to build out this rule and you tell me what are the fields I will use, how many. Okay, first of all, tell me, how many rule conditions am I going to use here? 2 rule conditions. Okay, let's this too. Okay. Now, what are they? What will be the first line? Take a look at this. This is how we write the rule conditions. So what will be our first line? Management level. Yes, let's start with that management level. And then it is. It says value in the selection list or maybe any in the selection list, right? We have to. We have to provide the list of values. And what is the value in the selection list? It is equal to manager. Okay, or what else should we write on a supervisor in this one condition? Online. We are looking for management level, correct? So in this line, we will not be able to write about location. Right? We have to add another line for that. You have to write another rule condition for it. Okay. So now in the management level, we are going to write manager and supervisor. Can we write like that? Like that's in. If you are giving a selection list, you can choose multiple values, correct? So can we write manager as well as supervisor? Okay, let's try to build. Okay, I may not be seeing the right thing. I'm just trying to confuse you, remember that. Okay, and then what is the other condition that we might want to write? So we will use an and condition, right, correct, and then let's say location. I will tell you the actual field, what location I mean. But anyway, we are doing on the basis of the location, right? So location is not 100% correct. We have to use location country. Isn't it doing it on the basis of the country, right? And then what we will say? Any in the selection list again. For some fields, which can be multiple values. We say any in the selection list. Look at this. Look at how we wrote this. You see the operator is any in the selection means that any value that you define in the list of values is app. That's the name of the operator. For some of the operators, we can use equal to as well. If you're directly doing a string comparison, we can do, yes, equal to, but any in the selection list also does the same thing. Right? It allows you to give a list of values from which you can choose. And did I mention that if you are using a list of values and this behaves like an or, right? This behaves like an or if you have multiple values here. So anyway, let's go back to the way we were writing the rules. So what will be right here? Any in the selection list, and can we write USA and UK? So I mean we can include both the values in the list. Right, let me put it like this. So rule conditions, you are saying, will be like for OK. So maybe I need to copy this again. Something like this. And you are saying, okay, management level, let's say manager, we do the manager. So maybe do something like this. We close it here. We open it here. So something like, oh sorry. It should be here. And here should be an or is. This is this. Okay, which one is correct? The approach one or the? I mean both are correct, but which one will give me this particular requirement? Managers in the US or supervisors in the UK? The build approach one or the build approach to the second one. Okay, what is the problem with the first one? So what the first rule is doing is, if we write it here, the first rule is saying managers or supervisors in UK or managers or supervisors in the US. Right. This is what it is doing. So it is going to give me a list of all managers in UK, all managers in the West, all supervisors in UK, and all supervisors in US. So this is not what I want. I only want my managers in the USA or my supervisors in the UK. Isn't it? So this approach 1 is not 100% accurate. The approach 2 is more or less accurate. Right. So what? So here we did make use of something, and that is this, brackets, right, so you can bunch up a couple of rule conditions together using the brackets. Remember when we did our let's say high school maths, when we started doing brackets? Let's say, if I write the statement like this, it gives me one set of results. But similarly, if I write the same thing in a different way, it might give me a different set of results, right? Although I mean in this case, both will give me the same, because addition is before subtraction. Let's see. Let's put it like this. Let's say 2 minus 2, trying to think of a good example, multiplication. Maybe. Yeah, so to multiply it by 2, but still multiplication would be before additions. As for the board mass rule. Let's see. Let me put something like this. 8 multiplied by 7 minus. Yeah, let's say 10, right, this is my. If this is my 7 minus 6. Let's say, if this is the way we have written our equation, and then the same equation, we write it in a different way. right? We put the brackets here. Right, so it gives me a whole new result. The first one gives me one result, the second one gives me another result. So it all depends where you put the brackets, isn't it? So similarly here, with the use of brackets, we can punch up the rule conditions, and then we can write really complicated rules. But do you think this? The sequence of these rule conditions are important when we write this other sequence important. The way we write the rules. Okay, if you change the sequence. Let's say I put this row at the beginning. Let's still make sense. If we change the sequence of this rule conditions, it will change the condition. So the sequence is quite important. Right, because you have used brackets, you have put in and or conditions. So the sequence in which you write the rule is also very important. You cannot just move one row like here and there, because that will mess up the entire logic. Okay. But yeah, I think if you mean that if you have the UK condition at the beginning, followed by the US condition, that is okay. That is still okay. Like if you do the supervisor in UK thing first and then do the manager in USA thing. That is still okay. That is not an issue, because A or B and B or A is the same thing, isn't it? I mean in conditional logic A or B, or if you write it as B or A, that is still the same.